Between Two Sprints, I'm your host, Matt Tomatu, with my co-host, Adam Rolfe, aka Speed Farm, and our guest of honor today, Eric Lichter. How are you doing today? And then I'll give you a fire intro.
I'm doing great. Hey,
Fant-
I tell people all the time, at my age, I turned 51 here in 11 days. In my age, if I wake up, it's a good day. So that's how it works, man.
Good to be
uh,
seen, baby. Good to be seen.
Yeah.
I love it.
happy early birthday. So, Eric Lichter, the owner of Plus Two University out of Columbus, Ohio. I know that there's a bunch of other franchisees and locations and stuff, but man, this guy's a hustler. I had the honor of meeting him in person, making a video for Tinity. Actually, I don't know how many years ago that was. What, 2021 maybe? He's just as jacked. Beard is just as big as it looks on screen. Kind of doing it live in person and shaking his hand. But this guy's a mad scientist when it comes to overspeed, assisted sprinting, just training his athletes to be fast. I believe that's your thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we are excited to chop it up today. So that's a brief background, but anything that I missed, I'll give you the mic to kind of help set the scene about yourself before we get into it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. My background is really, so I'm going on like year 30 in training athletes, and most of it's been in the private sector. So Plus Two is the actual second sort of private training center that I've owned or brand. The first one was in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I spent 6 years as the director of football performance for the Ohio State University. So Jim Tressel, great man, great mentor of mine. My only boss I ever had. I've always, been my own boss, and so he was the only one. But it was a great time I spent. I'm still in Columbus, Ohio. Had been here since really 2000 when I, came out here, and I've been a few different places in Ohio, but back in Columbus, and working for Ohio State was a great experience. But I do prefer the private sector. I do prefer, you know, having to rely on me to make a living, and I'm very comfortable with the fact that I've got to bring and add value to the marketplace, and I'm good with that. And I think a lot of coaches are not. Right. I met a lot of coaches in my lifetime that preferred the Ohio State side of things, right? Employee as opposed to possibly be an entrepreneur, but I'm much more comfortable on the entrepreneur side.
Fantastic. Being creative, being an entrepreneur, betting on yourself, kind of making it happen.
Yeah.
That's definitely the vibe I get every time we chat. So the cycle that there is when people get into Tinity, it's like, oh, I started following along, I learned more, I knew some people that had one, and then I decided to kind of pull the trigger and get in. But before you were a client, what was that thing that kind of got you into it? What piqued your interest, and then what kind of finally pushed you over the edge? So we'll go back to the origin story of getting your one of five 1080 sprint one.
We got more than
Oh, you
five.
got six now?
Seven.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So take us through the story about getting the first of seven sprint ones.
Well, so when I kind of I semi-retired for a while. So 2012 was my last season at Ohio State, and I got out of coaching for a while. And when I wanted to get back in, I really wanted to get back uh, in sort of a movement-based model, right? I wanted everything to be around speed development, movement first. The weight room was sort of off secondarily, right? And I think there's a great opportunity for, and you're seeing it play out, is a lot of coaches are finding that the niche or the opportunity to work with athletes in a space that they're probably not being maximized in, to say the least, is speed development, right? We know that most high school kids are in the weight room, right, 10 days a week. It's too much. And not to bang on the weight room, but there's that shift happening. And so I saw that in like 2017, 18. So I started to look into, like, okay, one of the things that excited me was technology, right? Back in the days when I was training Ted Ginn Jr. and LeBron and a lot of these really high level athletes, like Ted Ginn Jr., we know is one of the fastest guys that ever played college football, professional football. I used to put the bungee cord on him and we'd slingshot, right? And like we'd be like, oh my God, I hope that the cord doesn't break and snap his
Classic.
eye out. Jesus. And he'd get slingshotted like 17 yards. And people like, oh my God, that was so fast. And we know, like, 17 yards, you haven't even finished accelerate, right? So, like, we went from that sort of what I just described to 1080, right? So that was the exciting thing about me getting back in around 2017, 18 was like, okay, technology is totally different. So let me start to look in. And believe it or not, it was your former, it was your former guy, Tommy at TC Boost. Because Matt Flannery, right? You know Coach
Yep.
Flan.
Yep.
So Flan was an intern for me at Ohio State, and I love Coach Flannery, and I love his growth and where he is now. So I called a lot of the coaches that were still in the game, and I said, hey, tell me about the best tech you know of in speed development. Right? I was just getting a list. I want to make sure that there's something out that I didn't miss. In
Mhm.
1080, I knew nothing about, and I would have missed it. I would have found it eventually. Um, but Flan's like, hey man, I think you should talk to this guy Tommy at this place TC Boost, and he's got this thing, and it's pretty cool. And he was talking about the 1080, so I called Tommy, and we started chatting it up, and it didn't take me long. Like if there was 1080 and something else, I would have bought one of each of them just to play around with it. But as soon as I kind of like talked to Tommy, he sealed the deal. I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy one of these things. Yeah, I know it's 20 grand or whatever, but um, hey, the quality looked to be there, and just to be able to do. I saw it very quickly. Like the first question I asked is, you're telling me that I can assist sprint or I can tow an athlete from 100 meters away, like and the cord won't hit the ground, and like all those things that we deal with. He's like, yes, and I'm
Yeah.
like, sold. It's that simple.
How are you using it right now? So set it up for people in the world, right? Because we have a lot of different people using 1080 equipment. And what we want to focus on is the coach, you. The goal is for the 1080 products to help you as a coach, help your athletes develop. So maybe give it a little more. What are you doing right now to 1080 it? Like, how are you getting your athletes better to become these racehorses?
Right now, the weather is shifting here in Ohio, so I'm indoors primarily, right? Whereas in the summer and the fall, I'm out of my facility a lot. I'm outdoors. Um, but currently, right now, we are in that whole dynamic of a lot of acceleration work, a lot of power development work, contrasted with some assisted acceleration. We do have 73 yards of straightaway at +2, so we can do some decent max velocity training. But but for me in the track and field world, I've kind of been in the football world, obviously, and track and field. Um, I need 120 meters, right, of straightaway for me to
Mm.
really do the type of max velocity work that is required. So primarily, we're doing a lot of load velocity profiling on athletes. We think that is the most valuable thing to do if you have a 1080, is to be able to customize and individualize, the load requirements per athlete to really hit the training sort of goals that you want to hit, right? And so we're in that, um, you know, well, let me. I don't get too technical and lose the audience, but
Sure.
basically, we're basically doing what we call LVPs, and 1080 just released a very simple feature,
Oh
which
yeah.
is amazing, right? Because Matt, you don't even know this, but like I found an old YouTube video of you, and you were explaining y equals mx plus b, and you were doing your whole thing, and I literally watched that, and I put together that Excel sheet, and I did all those formulas, and I could pull up the load
Oh,
velocity
so could I.
profiles of like 1,000 athletes, right? And we
Yep.
did this process. We would
Yep.
run the
Yep. Yep.
1080s, we'd manually enter the numbers, we'd get our VDEX, and we'd have, it was, and it's a massive
And then you'd
spreadsheet.
print it out, to be on the
Yes,
wall.
this is what we did. And it was, I got that from you a long time ago, which was amazing, right? Now 1080 is just like, hey, here, go do your one, whatever you do. We do just so you know, with every athlete, we come in, we do a 1 kilogram, 45-yard run. So we want to run them as fast as we can and get them as close to their top speed as possible. So 1 kilogram is enough to measure, but not enough to really affect. They're going to run near top speed. We do a 5 kilogram run at a 30-yard distance. We do a 10 kilogram run at a 25-yard distance, and we do a 15 kilogram run at a 20-yard distance. So that's what we do. And then we just click, those 4 runs. We hit load velocity profile on the machine. We look at it. It's already got the graph. It's already got the VDEX, meaning that it'll tell you right up on the right side, what their top speed is. And if you want to take 10% of their speed away, which means you're running at 90% of your top speed, it'll tell you what load to put on the machine. And it just lays it out. I mean, it's literally a 30-second process. So we're doing that with all of our middle school and high school athletes. We don't really do that on young athletes because we don't really assess them. We just train them and track them. But if you're 13, 14, 15, we're doing this load velocity profile. And then what we're really doing right now, there's obviously some variations and some variables, but for the masses, for the most part, we're running like 5 to 6 pretty aggressive acceleration sessions, and then we'll follow it up with one really fast acceleration where we're not holding them back. So essentially, once we get those VDEX done, we're running anywhere between like a 40 and a 55% velocity decrement. So we're doing a lot of 20 to 30-yard distances of really, really aggressive acceleration. We'll do like 5 of those, 5 workouts in a row, and then that 6th workout we'll do like a 20% VDEC where we're deloading them and we're letting them really rip it, right? And we're just kind of rinsing and repeating that right now for about a 3-month cycle.
How many days a week do you usually get your athletes?
2.
So they may be doing 2 acceleration sessions per week over that 6-week period, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
2 per week. So we really want like a Monday, Thursday, or we want like a Tuesday, Friday, right? We really don't. We are such a group that we want to train very high quality. We want full recovery. We want lots of quality, and then we want 3 days of recovery. I think the biggest mistake that coaches make, or that we all make, I've made it, is I tell a lot of our athletes, if you're playing football, you're going to get out of football and you're going to be in this rush to come into indoor track, right? If you weren't in football and you're just a track only, well, you started training in July and you're going to be able to get, let's say it's 65 high quality speed workouts that we need to do. I think it is very important to realize that you must take those 65, and the longer you can spread those out, right? So like I can filter 65 workouts in between July and December. And if I get a football player who's done, on November 1st, I am not trying to get those 65 workouts in between, November and January. Like that it doesn't work. That's how we get guys hurt, right? So regardless of what we have, we are going to stick to our guns of, listen, we're not going to train on Mondays and Tuesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays. We're going to take the appropriate recovery. Yeah, we'll get some back-to-back training in because you got to be able to repeat sprint, fast on multiple days in track and field or whatever it is. But for the most part, we stick to that Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. We are not trying to overcook the steak. We are not trying to microwave speed. It doesn't work. You've got to give it time because it grows like a tree. So that's what we're doing. And it's nothing crazy. Like you see me as the overspeed guy, and I love assisted sprinting. It is the most valuable. It is a 10x tool that you can do. It is the most valuable thing you can do to get an athlete faster. But in this particular time, man, acceleration is what we do. We are trying to generate power, and we are not being fancy. We are literally running in a straight line against a 50% VDEC or a 55% VDEC. And if the power starts to drop off, then we'll either reduce the distance or we'll reduce the load. But we're going to get our 5 to 7 really awesome accelerations in twice, on Mondays, 5 to 7 really awesome accelerations in on Thursday. And we are not going to be like, oh my God, now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. We did some plyo, we did some mobility, we did some bounding, but that is the juice right there. And then it's done, man. That's the high quality speed right there.
Simple enough. And that's a good segue, as I was about to call you the overspeed guy, but good thing I didn't. So resistance sprinting, VDEX, save to profile. I know the exact feature and post that you're referencing.
It's the greatest thing in the world, man. Like, thank you, 1080.
So easy. So next, as we're wrapping up on time here, I just want to get your quick and dirty sales pitch. Overspeed, people understand how it makes sense. You run faster than you could on your own, but people could be a little bit hesitant, right? So when it comes
Sure.
time to discuss with the parent, with an athlete, with another coach, people who like get overspeed from a distance, but they haven't gone all in yet, kind of how do you describe overspeed sprinting to whoever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, we say, listen, there's sort of two really important things with overspeed. One is the fact that we've got to increase the rate of force, right? That we're running with. And assisted sprinting is I call assisted sprinting lighter pulls where we're assisting the sprint, and overspeed is like we are increasing that pull and we are really juicing the run. And assisted sprinting, the goal is to kind of stay in great shapes, patterns, positions, mechanics, right? And the athlete should be able to do that because you're not necessarily creating such a pull that the athlete's out of control, right? They should be able to stay calm, maneuver that speed. That's the thing. You can't have overspeed and chaos. The athlete has to be calm. They have to embrace that speed. So we talk about sort of the progression. We're gonna start with assisted sprinting, and we're gonna expose the tissues to higher rates of force, which are forced. It's forced. That negative foot speed of hitting the ground and that foot moving back, and then that leg pulling it around. It's forced. I mean, if I'm on a tether, I'm either going to go or I'm not going to go. I'm going to be the old horse leaning back and don't want to come out of the stable. Well, you got to go. So it's great for forcing that foot to snap through that ground quicker and to move back with higher speeds. So that rate of force is just a byproduct of overspeed assisted sprinting. The second thing you get with overspeed assisted sprinting is a nervous system hit. You know what I mean? You're forcing the brain to have to, you know, communicate and to coordinate and to run the system at a speed and a chaotic sort of, it doesn't know this type of speed. We've never moved like this, so it has to figure it out. The brain gets really good at figuring things out. So there are some times where we're going to, very rarely will you find me say, "Oh my God, you just broke," because that's what we do. We try to break glass ceilings. We try to, if an athlete's never hit, I think a Coy Hire, who's a 10-1, 10-2 kid who just went to Kentucky, and through the track season we were trying to slowly increase that peak speed, and we were looking for 27.3. We were looking for 27.3, and I was always pulling him between like 3.3 and 3.7, and we were like 26.8, 26.9. Oh my God, why can't we hit 20? And so I said one day, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm not wasting a rep. I'm gonna pull your ass at 4.6 on this one, 4.7, and we're going. And I don't care if your hips are slightly tilted forward. I don't care if you're not in the perfect technique, because I don't give a shit. All I care about is your foot gets through that ground and that we move that body at that speed, even if it's slightly out of control. And the reason was because I wanted the brain to have to operate in chaos, right? We don't do that a lot, but we do it. And it's funny, I pulled him at 4.7. This was a week before district started, and he set like 4 state records here, by the way. Like, the guy's an absolute stud. And he hit 27.38 miles per hour. Okay. And it was on the first one, right? Because the second one, you don't always get the same
Yeah.
results, right? You know that. It doesn't matter. Even if you take 15 minutes recovery, you don't, it's like me on the bungee jump. I jumped off of a crane in Australia when I was in high school. I bungee jumped, and it was the most terrifying thing in my life. And I forgot to order the picture. And then I didn't have any proof that I did it, so I had to go back and do it. And I ordered the picture, and I didn't want to jump the second time, even though you think, well, you already jumped, it'd be easier. I
That's
was like, hell
amazing.
no, I know what I'm in for. I don't want to jump.
Yeah.
This was horrible,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, you don't get the same result the second time. So I pulled him at 4.7. He hit 27.38, and then he's like, okay, when we doing our second one? I'm like, we're not.
Yeah.
We're
You're
done.
done. Yeah, you're
We're
done.
done. We
It's
got
okay.
it. Get in the car, drive back to Dayton. We're done. We hit it. We don't need another one, right? So, like, those are the two things that I think really, about overspeed. And listen, coaches, I understand, like, we all worry about hamstring. I've overspeeded athletes for 7 years. And I'm overspeeding a population that doesn't listen. Like, I tell them, hey, less is more. Hey, if your legs are tight, speak up. Hey, don't go to the DB coach and hit a million, 2 hours worth of DB drills in the morning and then come here in the afternoon for
Yeah.
speed work and not say anything, right? I've overspeeded. Matt, we have data on in our one tool. We have data on like 140,000 sprints. Okay, like, it's
Jeez.
insane because we got 7 days running all the time, multiple years. So I can tell you this: we've overspeeded thousands of athletes, and we probably have 40,000 assisted sprints in our system. And I bet we've had 3 hamstrings that were like, significant. And we probably had maybe 2 or 3 others that were, some strain, whatever. Think about the amount of volume that we're doing and the amount of sort of in the one population that's very, they're very, they think if they speak up that we're going to think they're weak, right? So
Yeah.
I said all to say this: if you progress your athletes appropriately, you expose them to velocities progressively. Don't get your 1080, unbox it, and throw an athlete out on a tether and pull them 90 meters on day one. That's not smart. Like, common sense. But if you know your athletes and you stick to, less is more. We don't want to do high, output, max intensity speed work when we're fatigued, all these things, and you just really, really build that consistency, man, you're going to be fine. Like, progress it, expose them to the tissues, and let them go. And, use the tool, because there's a reason why, you know, high school athletes all over the country are breaking 10 seconds in 100-meter dashes. There's a reason why you've got younger kids getting faster, and freshmen and sophomores running times. You're like, what is going on? Trackflation and
Yeah.
footballflation and all these things. The reason is because better coaches are sharing more information openly, right? There's better transparency. It's not like, oh, I can't share this, that's my competitor. There's better technology. 1080 is one of the most amazing technology there is. And assisted sprinting and overspeed is an incredible tool. You've got to use it. Don't be scared of it. Dive in, be uncomfortable. So use the tool. It's a game changer. You got to use it. You got to.
Hey, Eric, question, just so, because I get a lot of the feedback from other coaches, like when you're talking, this kid hit 27 mile an hour, and that's peak speed on the 1080, right? So that's what, one moment in time at the very push off of the toe. What would that kid be when he ran his 100-meter on the track? What's his, like, then top speed would be, like, miles
That's
per hour?
such a great question. So what I've learned, and we back this up with GPS too. So we have GPS on the
Yeah.
kids to sort of, have 2 points of data reference. They're usually a mile to a mile, 1.0 to 1.5 miles per hour below the
Yeah.
peak speeds they're hitting. So every single time Coy would hit 26.8 on the 1080 in an overspeed quality speed session, he'd run 25.7, 25.8 peak speed in his 100-meter dash 3 days later. So you're usually about 1 mile per hour below in your, your non-tethered run. And I'll tell you, 1 mile per hour is a huge difference. So I think that every athlete should set a goal to try to increase their peak sprinting speed every off season by 1 mile per hour. That is if you're not working towards that, you're leaving a lot of, development, a lot of meat on the bone in terms of athletes, because if you can get 1 mile per hour faster every year, and you start as a 7th grader, 6th grader, you start tracking and measuring, by the time you're a junior or senior, you won't be worried about 40-yard dash times at football camps. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
The
And I
problem
know,
is we don't focus on it, right? We don't look at
right.
that.
That's what I'm seeing too, talking to coaches, that there are not a ton of people in the world like yourself that are working more long-term athletic development with that middle school age and starting to put them on 1080s. And let's call it what it is. When you start doing assisted and resisted at a very precise level earlier in their development, we're going to see this trackflation of speed, because and hopefully we help with that issue of these injuries as well, right? Like, so we're actually building that neuromuscular system to handle what we want them to do at the Division I level and the pro level. So no, your insights were awesome today. So thank you so much for coming on.
And I know we're short on time. The last thing is, do not discount the brain. Like the brain,
100%.
the brain knows movement. You gotta input, feed up to the brain the data, and it'll download the program back to you. So, the more sprint work we do, the better that brain will regulate everything you do athletically. So it's a game changer. 1080 guys is so worth the investment. I mean, I'm not just because I'm telling you, I've got 7 of them. Like, Adam didn't give them to me for free.
No.
They are worth the investment. Maybe you don't do what I do and do the volume that we do, but guys, it is such a tool that you have to have. It will pay you back. Business wise, you should have a plan to recoup that investment within 3 months to 4 months anyway, if you know how to use it and price it and integrate it into your training. But you guys, you got to get the tool. 1080 Sprint is just amazing. It's been such a game changer.
Fantastic. So individualize your resisted sprints and be smart and intentional about on-ramping and kind of progressing your assisted sprints and run fast. So Eric Lichter, I want to say,
don't microwave your training, man. Take
That's
the
right.
time and spread it out appropriately, and you will not have these issues.
so Eric Lichter, +2 University. We are here between 2 sprints. Let's see if I can show the background a little bit. But thank you. There we go. Thank you very much for your time today, for being an awesome kind of customer client coach, kind of pushing the field forward and making the time today to kind of share with us. So I am rolling out the red carpet for you, my friend. Feel free to plug whatever you got to plug. Where can the people get more of Coach Lichter?
Yeah, so +2 is mainly on Instagram. So, my feed is just Eric Lichter on Instagram. So EricLichter, no spaces. +2 University is PLUS2 University. So you can find us on Instagram. You can find me and +2 on Twitter and on Facebook. That's mainly what we use. We have a YouTube channel. So, I mean, if you just search +2 University, it'll come up. And then, you can just punch in my name directly, and you can find me on social media as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adam, and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.